My name is Stacia Deshishku. I am the Executive Vice President of ABC News. Born and raised in Houston, Texas. I actually had never even left Houston basically until I went to college in Dallas. But my junior year of college, I took a semester in Washington at American University. Spent the rest of my senior year trying to get back to DC. And I moved there 7 days after college graduation. I was going to be the first woman president. I didn't know we would still not have one yet, but I was a political science major. Absolutely had no idea about journalism at all, was not in my high school paper, didn't write, and I wanted, after the first semester of college, to drop out. Called my mom and said, college isn't for me, and she went running to the counseling and testing center at my school, and they said, why don't we give her a battery of tests? We believe if we can give her these tests and we find out what her likes and dislikes are, and we can match them up with people who are successful in their career and really like their career, maybe this is what she should do. So my mom called me and told me this, and I thought, well, I can party for one more semester, but this is not going to work. So I took all of the all of the tests, and I came up 98% in journalism. I was like, what is that? I don't even know. But I thought, okay, fine, I'll take one more class. So I took a class called Intro to Writing. It was Intro to Broadcast Writing with a professor named Kathy Latour, and she changed my life. And literally, it was the one class. And from that point on, I have never looked back. So it was that first class, and then as I began to take class after class, I really got excited about it. And then, like I said, I went to American University for this semester, and my school had never let broadcast journalism students go to this program. They had only set political science. And I really had to fight with my dean to let me go. And I was the first journalism student to do it, and it changed my life. I went in and I had an internship, and I got 2 offers. One was at Entertainment Tonight, and the second one was at 60 Minutes. And I remember calling my mom and saying, oh my God, I've got Entertainment Tonight. She said, are you kidding me? You want to be a journalist, you want to go to 60 Minutes. The funny thing was, the reason they hired me at 60 Minutes was not because of my portfolio, it wasn't my writing that I had done, it wasn't anything that I had done in college. They were doing an investigation into a Texas hospital chain. And every time they called, the 2 women who were the producers had very thick kind of Boston accents, and every time they would call, they would hang up on them. So in my interview, they literally said to me, can you do a Texas accent? And I was like, okay. So I said, hi, my name's Stacia. I'm calling about my grandma. She's in room 232. Can you please connect me? And they were like, you're hired. And that was it. And I thought, no, it's supposed to be about, this great investigative piece I've written for my school paper. No, it was I could do a Texas accent. But that just told me it's never really what you think it's going to be. You never know how you're going to get that first job. But I did that internship, and it lit a fire in me. So I kept in touch with them every week. I would send a letter. This was actually before email. I sent a letter every week just staying in touch, and I got a job offer right after college from 60 Minutes. I was in a sorority at my school. I went to a Southern school, so that was really big. And I had a lot of leadership opportunity within my sorority. I was the first person in my family to go to college. I didn't know what anything was about. And so for me, I wasn't a legacy in my sorority. I was the first person. And so I really did use it for leadership. But I was also, at my school, we were the Mustangs, and I was a Mustang tour guide. And I don't know if when you were touring colleges, I felt like sometimes like a tour can make or break a school. I remember my tour at SMU where I went wasn't very good. And so I wanted to change that for other students. And so I used it as an opportunity to practice public speaking. I was able to answer any question off the top of my head. Parents ask crazy questions, and students ask even more, or the students are behind their parents saying, please tell them I can bring a car. But that was kind of my first opportunity to just speak extemporaneously, and I really enjoyed it. I did write for my school paper, but I really knew I wasn't much of a writer, but I was a storyteller. So that's where I really got into broadcast journalism, because I thought that was the kind of story I wanted to tell. Really, once I got to work with pictures and editing and really learning the difference between journalism storytelling and film storytelling. In film, you can write any story you want. It's, as creative as your mind can be. In journalism, you're telling the facts. You're telling someone else's story. And you have to tell it according to how they tell it. And when you're out shooting, you can't tell somebody, oh, could you do that again? If you're shooting a kid jumping out of a tree, you can't say, oh, jump again, because then that's staging. And so really learning about being in the moment and being authentic and being true to the story really spoke to me more than the creative storytelling that I could have done if I was just writing any story I wanted to write. Marrying the pictures and the facts was just something that I thought, oh, this is what I want to do. And my first job, I worked 80 hours a week because I just wanted to be there. I just wanted to be around people who were working journalists. I think that's how you learn from people. You watch the best people in the business do their work. Because when you're right out of school, you don't know anything. Begging them to give you a job and give you an opportunity to watch. I worked at the food court at the mall. I worked in clothing stores. In college, I actually worked for a recruiting firm, an executive recruiting firm. Again, I had no understanding of what college was because nobody in my family had been. I just knew it was something that I wanted to try. Then when I got there, I thought, oh, this is hard. But as I began to find classes that I was interested in, the ones that really spoke to me, then I got excited. What was I thinking that I didn't want to stay in college? What was I thinking that I didn't want to get this degree? And I really look back and think how lucky I was that my school had that opportunity in the Counseling and Testing Center to, reach out. I really think a lot of it that time was probably psych students practicing on undergrads, but that's okay. And they pushed me in the right direction. And I've taken a lot of those tests in the years since. They're Myers-Briggs and different personality tests, and I keep coming out exactly the same way. So who I was at 18 is who I am at 55. It's not necessarily that I made a wrong career choice, but I do remember one time I had gotten a job. I was working at CBS News, and I was what we call a pool producer. And I wanted to be the best pool producer. I was traveling with the White House. I wanted to be a subject matter expert. And what I did was I didn't teach somebody else how to do my job. I wanted to be the one who everybody looked to and thought she knew how to do this. So when anybody else said, could I help you? I was like, no, you can't help me. I've got this. What happens when you don't teach somebody else how to do your job is that you become the only person who can do it. So when I wanted to get promoted and I wanted to move to the next job, they were like, you're the only one that knows how to do this. We can't let you go. And that was a great lesson to me. And so from that point on, every time I got a job, immediately, I began to look around to see who could take that job after me. Because I wasn't mean that I wanted to move very quickly. I basically stayed in most jobs 3 to 5 years. But on year one, I was grooming who was going to take the job after me so that I could then be available to go on that trip I've had a blessed career. So when there was breaking news, when that bell rang, I wanted to be the first person at that story. And they don't let you do that unless somebody else can do the job at the office. So remember that. Always find your replacement.